interviewing the sixth dude of Dude Perfect.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I am the sixth dude because they have a guy who's kind of the host. So I'm maybe like the seventh or eighth dude.
But
We don't have to ask them.
you know, you're a dude.
I'm a dude.
Yeah.
And for the live show, I'm definitely a fairly crucial dude to the success or failure of the night. It's different for me mixing this because I'm not mixing music, 10 or 12 channels at a time. And they're in front of the PA on headsets yelling. And there's no real script.
I will say I didn't hear any feedback, not one time.
So that's one thing I want to talk about.
Jeff's back on the podcast.
Jeff
he's already big timing us.
He's just so busy. Look at him.
I didn't know we were actually rolling yet. I'm
Yeah, we're
sorry.
rolling,
It's
dude.
okay.
You were on the phone. You took a call. I'm just responding
Nobody
to
knows
the
about that call.
Yeah, nobody knows about that one. But we also, that contributed to this. It's
Yeah.
good. It's good. Finish what you're doing.
Well, I'm actually doing work for my actual job this summer, which is texting the dudes about golf.
Yes.
So,
which is a
Great
huge,
intro.
and-
Great segue.
and that is what we're here to talk today.
Yep.
The audio guy of Dude Perfect tells all today on the MXU podcast.
And we want to know all the BTS. We want to know
There's
all
5
the
dudes,
drama.
right?
There are 5 dudes.
Okay, so title of the podcast, interviewing the sixth dude of Dude Perfect.
There you go.
But I don't know that I am the sixth dude because they have a guy who's kind of the host for the night that
Yeah.
everybody refers to as the sixth dude. And so kids who watch their channels would know Sparky as the sixth dude. So I'm maybe like the seventh or eighth dude.
Yeah, coming off the bench.
Maybe 12th. I don't know.
yeah, but
We don't have to ask them.
you know, you're a dude.
I'm a dude.
Yeah.
And for the live show, I'm definitely a fairly crucial dude to the success or failure of the night.
Of course you are.
I would hope.
You have to be.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why am I
Doing?
there?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Otherwise,
I'm
why
not
are
there.
you there?
I'm not there just to play golf.
Who's the better golfer amongst the group of
Ty.
dudes? Really?
So Ty and Garrett are the best golfers. Ty, like the other day I played, Garrett didn't play with us, but I played with Ty, Cody, and Coach Rack from the Savannah Bananas.
Mhm.
And Ty shot 1 over.
Wow.
He was 2 under after 11.
On a course he's never played before.
On a course he's never played that wasn't that easy. I have a funny story though about my golf day.
Something crawling in your hair.
We got some ticks in
There's
here.
some
Oh,
there's some vermin here at MXU. Oh, got him. So either I have fleas or we have a pest problem at MXU.
Get out of here. I don't want that on me.
that's bad.
Hope it wasn't a deer tick. Give me some Lyme disease.
He was on the lake last night.
I
It's probably been
I
in your
listened to
hair
a
all
podcast this
night.
morning on Lyme disease. You're good. I'll tell you what you need to do.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So anyway, Tyler shot 1 over.
Over.
Which at that course it's par 70, so he shot 71, which on any other course is probably 1 under. But he played great. I shot 78, and then the other guys were higher than that. But funny story about my golf experience that day. I created a move on the golf course that we're now affectionately referring to as the trip and snap.
Yeah, you got to hear this.
So we're walking up to a tee box. There's these big stone steps going up to the tee, but they're natural stones. So each one is a bit of a different height.
Mm-hmm.
There was one that was significantly higher than the other ones, like the third step. So I'm talking to the guys and I'm walking up the steps and I tripped on the third step because it was like 2 or 3 inches higher than the other ones. I tripped and fell forward and my hands went down to catch me while I was holding my driver in my left hand. So the driver went against the steps. My hand went through and snapped my driver in half.
Oh my gosh.
So the shaft of my driver was.
And you're a lefty, so there's no. You can even.
I can't
you
borrow.
Have no option.
Yeah, Tyler was like, "Oh, just use mine. I've got a spare driver." And I'm like, "I can't do it left-handed."
So did you just hit your 3-wood off the tee all day, or what?
Yeah, I
did you do?
played 13 holes without a driver, and it was not easy. I was scrambling the whole day.
That's actually dangerous. I'm glad you made it through that.
That would have ruined Dylan's day for sure.
Yeah.
So
So it's called snapping what?
the trip and snap.
Trip
Trip and snap.
Yeah.
I like that.
You know, that's the thing about the dudes is they'll give nicknames like that to everything
Yeah.
in their lives.
Yeah, of course.
It's like, you know, every word has an abbreviated version. You know, it's like you hit the fairway and Ty will be like, "Oh man, you hit 11 fairsies today," or whatever. And it's like It's no longer to say fairways than it is fairsies, but
They're dudes.
They're dudes.
That's their thing.
I love it.
It's a thing. But it is
Dang.
it's a great pleasure to work with them. This is my 4th tour, and it's super fun.
They seem like amazing people.
They're
to
really
work
like
for.
what you see in terms of just what they put out in terms of personality and authenticity and all that. It's like the same backstage as it is on stage. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So I'm curious because we were both at the show the other night, and as I was watching the show, which was very entertaining.
Knoxville was actually our largest show of
Yeah.
the tour.
Why do you think that was? I saw all
Thompson
that
Bowling.
come out. What was about Knoxville that?
Well, capacity is higher than other venues.
Okay, but have y'all played the Dallas area yet, Fort Worth and all
Yeah,
that?
yeah. So
and
we
we were
played-
bigger than those areas.
Well, we did 2 shows in Dallas. We did Fort Worth at,
Okay.
at Dickies Arena
Okay.
and American Airlines.
so you split it really.
in Dallas. So it was
Yeah.
split. So
Hometown
total in
show.
Dallas was probably 20,000 people
largest venue.
spread across 2. But this was the largest venue
Yeah.
and the largest attendance of the whole show,
awesome.
which is cool.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
I think there were 14,000 people in the room at Thompson Bowling.
Yeah.
And it was loud.
Yeah, it was fun.
Bunch of 11-year-old boys screaming at 2K the whole night.
Hey, our kids were having a blast.
Yeah, my 12-year-old daughter and 8-year-old son. I don't think I had to tell Beckham, "Hey, sit down."
That's
like
awesome.
several times because people behind him, Jet knew every question of that trivia game.
That's amazing.
Every answer. Boom, 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 boom.
So she's into it as much as he is.
Oh yeah, she knows way more about them than he does.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, afterwards, Joel and I went to Waffle House. We're sitting there, and he was just
You got to tell everybody, though, what Joel got to eat at Waffle House. So here's a 7-year-old kid, and this is what he's having after the show.
Yeah, we sit down, and first of all, she comes over, super nice, typical Waffle House waitress. Great, super nice. What can I get you all to drink? I'm like, I'll get a water. He's like, hi, C, and I'll get a Pop Rock waffle. They had the waffles
Waffle with Pop Rocks
with
in it.
Pop Rocks on top of them.
This is loading down the sugar.
Oh, bro,
It's a party in your mouth, and everyone's invited.
yeah,
Yeah, I love it.
100%. But he's sitting there just chowing down, would not shut his mouth. I mean, I didn't say a word the whole meal. He's just like, Dad, I got to meet Tyler. I got to meet the bananas. What is this life? He was losing his
That
mind.
photo of you posting of you and Joel
Yeah,
with Tyler
of him with Tyler. Yeah.
and my kids missed that opportunity by seconds apparently. Devastated my kids.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, because it must have been just seconds.
It was just
'Cause y'all
literally a
walked
minute.
I was about to make a joke. I was like, yeah. So whose kids got to meet?
Yeah, because you guys walked in like 8 seconds ahead of us, and then we got delayed a little bit at security. So once we came backstage and we're in the catering,
Why did you show them? That's messed up. Why did you show them the photo?
got on and rub it in? I was like, check this out.
That's why it's important to be on time, kids.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I also-
I didn't know that.
No, it's totally
The,
fine.
the funniest thing. This has been.
I said we can go again. I said they're in Kentucky. We can go to Kentucky.
Well, yeah, Cincinnati. We're going to be in Atlanta. We're going to be in
Thought y'all were in
Charlotte.
Kentucky. Maybe not.
So another running joke for many years. Well, this really started at like a live event, the one at Passion in 24, that people thought that Jeff's my dad. They're like, oh, this is like a father-son operation around here at MXU. So I really took people through a spin.
Because I'm old, is what he's saying.
No, I don't. But people came to their own conclusions. I don't know how.
You're not old, Jeff. We've been saying it for a decade. You're not old. You're older.
Older.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
We talked about that on the podcast. We talked about
Yeah.
how old is too old or whatever. We already went through all that. But I really threw people for a loop because I said Uncle Jeff came through big time for Joel. And so people in my DMs are like, I had no idea that he was your uncle.
Oh my god.
That's funny.
What I liked about
like, come on, guys.
the dude night. So do we call it a show? Because they call it squad games, but like
It's a show, but
a
yeah,
show.
the format for the show this year is squad games. And so in prior years, the 5 guys competed against each other throughout the night to determine the champion of the night. So this year, because they've done their squad game stuff on their channels, they are now competing as a team against other teams. So like this weekend, we had the Savannah Bananas. A couple weeks ago, we had what they're calling Creator Squad, which is other YouTubers coming together.
Gotcha.
A couple weeks before that, we had the Harlem Globetrotters. And so it's like they're competing against other teams head to head to determine the championship team of the night. So it's funny because the dudes have actually lost 3 times. And the night that you were there, they lost to the Savannah Bananas. It came down to game 7. It's like 7 sports-related contests throughout the night, and it's the best of 7 series. And so it usually comes down to the 7th game, and the Bananas pulled it out. So the
I
dudes-
love that it's not you know, as a producer, I'm sitting there going, okay, the dudes are down. I think it was like 3-1. They just lost the third game. I was like, oh, no, it was
No, the Bananas were down.
Bananas were down.
Dudes were up 3-1.
No.
No.
The other night,
Dudes were losing.
yeah. Bananas were up.
Dudes came back.
Oh, that's right.
Dudes
Okay,
came back.
okay.
They blasted them in the go-kart game, and they
soccer,
were just
yep.
murdering them. But I had thought to myself, I bet the dudes win the next couple games to go into Game 7.
Because you're thinking they're going to throw it on
Well, they have to
purpose to
go.
get to
Yeah,
Game
because
7.
but I don't feel like that happened. I feel like they played and
They're playing hard. Like
Yeah.
everybody's trying hard.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the cool part about it is from a production standpoint, it is different every night. You know, the elements are programmed, but it's not scripted.
Yeah.
Like, in other words, even for my stuff that I'm doing, like it's different for me mixing this because I'm not mixing music, you know, like the rest of my career. I'm mixing basically 7 or 8 headset mics in front of the PA yelling at each other the whole night.
I feel like it was more than that.
Well, a couple of handhelds too. So
Yeah.
it's like up to, 10 or 12 channels at a time. And they're in front of the PA on headsets yelling. And there's no real script. So it's like I've got to determine, okay, who's actually in charge of this element? Is it the host? Is it one of the dudes? How are they going to balance each other? Because they're talking over each other
Yep.
all the time.
Well, I mean, I even heard at one point they were trying to strategize in the middle of a game, and a Savannah guy grabs his headset, puts
like,
it
"Can you guys
closer to his
hear me?"
mic. Hey, guy, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Because he was trying to talk to his
because
team.
they've got everybody in their ears.
Yeah.
So he's trying to communicate over the crowd. And so I have to be mindful of that. To
Yeah, like
go,
when he's doing that, are you ducking him?
I had to. Because
Yeah,
I heard him say that and I was like, oh, okay. So it's still in there, but it's not like
just constant chasing and watching.
just chasing. Yeah.
I will say I didn't hear any feedback, not one time.
So that's one thing I want to talk about is just the technology for the show is different. So in prior years, I've tried things like Dugan Auto Mixer. The problem with Dugan is that in order for Dugan to work well, you have to give priority to one mic over another, and then it automatically ducks the mics that don't have priority. Well, the problem with this show is that not one person has priority. It's like they're all talking over each other all the time, and Dugan didn't know what to do with all that. So it was very difficult for Dugan to work. So then there's things like PSE and X Feedback and other plug-in type tools to help with gain before feedback. And coming into this tour, I was going to use D-Feedback, which is a plugin that a lot of people have become familiar with. And so we were prepping for that. And then the production manager called me and he said, hey, did you see the demo from L Acoustics about source intelligence? And I had seen it, but I wasn't there to hear it. I was like, yeah, it looks very interesting. He said, well, it runs on an ELISA processor. And so our company happens to have 2 processors that we're not doing ELISA for this tour, but we can use these processors to accommodate source intelligence. So each processor can handle 4 mics or 4 channels. So I have 7 headsets that are dedicated to the process, and then the 8th channel is a group. So I have the handhelds and some other mics that aren't one of the key dudes mics. So there's 5 dudes and 2 headsets from the visiting team that are individually processed. Then the 8th channel is a group of all the other mics. And I'm telling you, what it does is complete voodoo in my mind, because it detects the voice or whatever the input is, detects it, and completely ducks everything else that that channel is hearing. And so I can have all those headset mics, like Tyler comes out, kids are screaming at the top of the show. As he kind of intros the night, his mic was literally 95 dB A-weighted in front of the PA without a hint of even worrying about feedback. And for my job, it's like people worry about AI taking over their jobs and all that. I don't think AI is ever going to be a complete like auto mixer type thing. Like I still think there's room for creativity and all that. But for me in that seat, bring on the AI, because I don't have to worry about that, and I can focus on the other things that are most important for the mix.
Yep.
And feedback, which was generally in prior years my only primary concern, is now completely off the table. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So kudos to L Acoustics. You know, obviously it's an expensive process because you need those processors. It's a proprietary license for L Acoustics only.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like an open platform kind of thing. So it is expensive. But man, for the people who have those resources in their existing inventory for a touring company and all that, I feel like within, I would say 5 because I'm old, but I know with technology moving forward, within 2 to 3 years, a live sound engineer will never have to worry about feedback again.
Yeah. Seems like there's just dozens of tools out there in that vein that are going after the same goal.
Yeah.
Which is pretty sweet.
Yeah. And for more affordably, to be able to mitigate some of that stuff, I highly recommend de-feedback.
Yeah.
Like it's a great process. So if you're ever at a trade show or you haven't heard it yet or whatever, they're always, there and have a presence, and you need to get a demo and work on it, because just as a live engineer to not have to worry about feedback is a massive.
How much does it mess with like sonic quality? Like if you're using it on a lead vocal?
So depending on the settings, like I used de-feedback back in the fall last year for the YouVersion event that was celebrating the 1 billionth download of the Bible app. And so I had it on basically the vocal group for that. And so if it's on a group, and if you do too much of it, or you set the threshold too low, then there are some artifacts in terms of how it's doing the process.
Yeah.
But you can set it so that it's pretty undetectable in terms of just weird zippering or artifacts or glitches or whatever. So and it's only getting better. I think every iteration of the software, whatever it is, if it's de-feedback or Source Intelligence or whoever else is doing it, even Waves plugins, as they move toward faster processors and, higher just headroom in DSP and all that, it's only going to get better and better.
Yeah.
So feedback is no longer the most challenging part of the tour for you as an audio guy on the tour. What is the most challenging thing for you?
It really is, because there's so many more people involved. It's not just the 5 dudes. It's really trying to kind of help tell the story of what's happening on the floor. Because the other thing about this tour is that there's no stage. In prior years, we've had a bunch of staging, and it's been like some of the action has happened like behind the PA, like on a typical end stage where you'd have a desk with them sitting behind it talking about a cool, not cool item or other things from their overtime show. Now there is no stage because the entire arena floor is where the action happens. So there's these massive props with all these, moving targets for a football throw, or a moving field goal for a kick, or a lowering basketball hoop for different trick shots and stuff. That's so much a part of the action. But the great thing about that is there's not a bad seat in the house, because everybody is sitting above the stage looking down onto the arena floor. So everybody's got a great view. But for me, along with the video team, it's like, how are we going to tell the story? Because people are pretty small on the floor. If you're up in the 300 level, you've got to be able to communicate, like, who's talking, who's leading this, conversation, whose mic do I need to have on? Because you've got somebody up in the stands trying to hit a soccer ball with a big golf club, like pretending they're playing golf, down onto the arena floor. And then you've got somebody over here in the stands with a bow and arrow trying to shoot a balloon. And then people on the floor who are talking around a desk like they're the announcers for the game. So it's like, for me, it's really just managing, okay, I know how this is supposed to go, but whose mic needs to win right now so that everybody can clearly hear the flow of the game, because it is pretty chaotic. So it's really like almost like helping to create a script based on who I think is going to be talking most prominently.
It definitely is very different than what most people are used to, as far as like when you go to a concert or a show. That's why I was like, we call it a show, because it was very much so from an attendee, it was chaotic, but in a really good way, because it was always something happening around me.
It's very stimulating.
I got somebody hitting a golf ball up behind my head to the right. I got tennis balls launching at us, and then everyone on the floor, like you said, is talking, and so you're trying to pay attention, and they have the iMags, and then all of a sudden cryo's going off in front of you, and you're just like, all the elements happening at once.
It's pretty chaotic.
Yeah. I liked it a lot.
I'm curious how enjoyable is it for you personally, like doing that? Obviously, you've spent years mixing bands and so on and so forth. Has it been hard to find enjoyment in doing that, or has it been pretty natural?
It's a good question. It's very different, and so I like the challenge of that, but I also love helping a band make music. Like, I love mixing music, and that's like my first love in terms of production. So
that didn't get you playing golf with the dudes.
This is true.
Well, that is
I had to play
that
golf.
is what got him playing golf with the dudes.
Sure, but
But back then I had to play golf with Chris Tomlin, and who wants to do that?
Yeah,
No, I'm just
exactly.
kidding. I'm just kidding. Golf with Chris is great. Unless
Can you beat Chris?
unless he's having a bad day. He is so competitive.
Really?
This should not be. We should edit this out.
it's not gonna happen.
He's so competitive on the golf course. So if he's playing
Nothing
badly,
wrong with that, man.
no. But if he's playing badly, it's
It gets awkward.
not fun for anybody. But anyway, and the dudes are not
his
very
name
far
out.
from that. I think they're very competitive too. So
Yeah.
it's I'm hard on myself. So it's like it's golf. That's
Yeah.
golf. Anyway, to answer the question, there are things that I do miss about mixing music, but it is a fresh challenge, and I've really enjoyed it. I've loved getting to know the guys; like they're awesome. And the other thing is, because I'm older, I've earned the right not to have to hang the PA.
He's
and
white gloving it.
Not totally white gloving. I set up my console and I help run the
You
snake.
can pick up your console, like literally.
Well, that's the other thing I want to talk about in a
No,
minute.
I
but-
was there. I wasn't gonna bring it up on the podcast, but I was there. I saw what you were doing.
So my setup is less than it has been in the past. So I have freedom to do things like play golf or go for a run or work out. The other thing about my day is that my daughter Stella is on the crew as well. She's crushing it. So I get to spend time with her, which is great. I never had that on other tours when she was little. So there are things about it that are awesome. There's things about it that I do miss, other aspects. I will say I miss my body's ability to adjust to bus sleep. Because as I've gotten older, I'm not resting as well as I could in the past because it's just harder to roll down the road every night and wake up in the next city after sleeping on a bus all night.
Hey, I want to take a quick break and tell you about MXU. MXU is the one platform that you need to run your worship and tech ministry. We do it through helping you train your volunteers with thousands of training videos and automated pathways. We help you plan your weekend services with team messaging, task management, and automated scheduling. And then lastly, we help you actually run and execute Sunday with dashboards that connect all the tools that you currently use into one place. If you want to learn more about it, you can head to getmxu.com. Now back to the show. 100%.
But
Could imagine.
So how big is the crew? So here's what I'm seeing, because we go to videos for all the big transitions. So you said earlier, there's these big props on the floor. Well, the props don't live on the floor. So the props have got to come on and off per each game. And in the transitions between each game, with the exception of the live podcast scenario they did, it was all longer, probably what it felt like, maybe 4 to 7 minute videos. So
they're like
they way longer than
minutes.
that. They're 2 minutes. Okay.
It's a quick
They
transition.
felt forever. I'm just kidding. So, but what I'm seeing on the floor is, it looks like 15 to 20.
Yeah.
Is that local hands or is that crew
So
that's busting in and out?
Our crew, that's the core crew with us, we have, there's the dude's bus, so they're on their own bus, and then we have 6 other buses that are a combination of our core crew plus, management, which is like our promoter and promoter reps and merch and all that. So, and then each bus sleeps 12. So there's, 70 people or so that we're traveling down the road with every day. But in terms of the core production crew, there's front of house monitors, 2 PA techs, a third person who's a PA tech. So 5 audio, probably between LED and cameras, there's 5 or 6 video, production manager, stage manager, producer. So our core crew, and then props is like 4 people. So our core crew is about 20. And then every day we'll have, depending on the city, depending on the need for load in, we also have a rigger that tours with us and another kind of assistant rigger. So yeah, we've got 25 or so on our core crew. And then usually 60 stagehands that are provided locally for load in. And then for the show call, there's at least a dozen stagehands that are there for helping to get those props on and off. So between our props crew and the stagehands, there's probably 15 to 20 people who are helping to manage all that. Because it is like there's a distance to travel. Because if you're going you have a big prop in the middle of the floor, either way you go, whether it's in a VOM in this corner or a VOM backstage, you're traveling 100 feet in 45 to 90 seconds during a video transition to get stuff. And then there's somebody in the floor who's still talking as a host, trying to kill time to make that happen.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty, like, it's a ballet of coordination to get all that stuff happening.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I'm curious. We talked about gear a little bit with feedback and such, but so you're using LV1 Classic.
Yep.
I'm curious what wireless and microphones are being used.
So we have two consoles, one at front of house, one at monitors, and it's both the LV1 Classic. And then those consoles are set to share the I/O. And so we have, I have the internal console I/O at front of house with a few inputs coming in, talkbacks, the producer mic, comm channels, things like that. The monitor position is where the rest of the I/O lives. So he's got a couple of stage boxes where the wireless come in, and other inputs, video inputs, and that sort of thing are all happening in monitor world. And we share I/O. So the way that console works is that when you're I/O sharing, basically one person has control of the gain, and then the other console has gain tracking and digital trim. So it's
Are you setting gains or was he?
he is.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep. So gains are set at monitor world. And in terms of wireless, we're using the sound devices, wireless mics.
Is this the units that can like have like 12 channels of wireless in one unit or something?
One RU up to 32 channels of wireless.
That's insane.
It's insane. And the way the software works for deployment, he doesn't know what it means.
He's
But
awesome. He's pumped about it.
Yeah.
and the way the deployment works, the software interface is so intuitive. You can deploy, it'll scan and deploy automatically. You don't have to hold the mic in front of the unit to sync it all up. It sends the info, and
How much is one of those units?
it's expensive.
Really?
Yeah. I don't have a retail price for you, but if you're interested in buying one, I know where you can get one. But yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah.
And then we use Axient for the ears.
Okay.
But the other thing about the mics is the wireless pack is like this big.
Yeah.
And so for a guy who's running around the stage or running around the floor all night, it's so light and so compact. And the microphones themselves are DPA for our headsets.
Okay.
And the sound devices, mics for handhelds.
Do the sound devices units, can that transmit and receive, or is it like, does it go both ways?
Not yet, but it's going to.
Gotcha. That's sick.
Yeah, that's important.
Dylan has no idea what we're talking about.
That's important.
So-
Can we talk about something that actually matters?
No, I wasn't going to say that because this is very interesting stuff.
Yeah. He did say that one time on a podcast that we were talking
Can we talk about something that matters?
Yeah. We were talking with
What about my needs?
yeah, we were talking about Churchfront. We were talking with Churchfront guys about gear. I don't know, whatever. It was 6 months ago.
Get nerdy.
And Dylan literally didn't say a word the entire episode. And everybody thought like there was like serious tension. Like he was gonna
I didn't have anything to say.
literally at the end of the episode, he goes, great. So now can we
No,
talk?
that's not what happened.
We spent like an hour talking about like
Someone in the group finally said something like, yeah, so people, let's talk about people for a second. And then I go, oh, finally something that matters.
that was the first thing he said in the whole
That's funny.
episode.
This is the first word he
an hour.
understood.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway,
I was
you
gonna
were
ask
saying.
I was going to ask you, so people who are listening, most of the people that listen to this podcast are obviously church production guys, worship guys, and girls, obviously. So what's something that's happened? Because how many of y'all have done 15 so far? 12?
We've done 12 of 22.
And we know in a live production space that those 12 nights have not gone perfect because
Right.
it's just impossible. Like
Yeah.
there's things that have come up in the first few tour runs of every tour, something comes
Yep.
up. I would be curious to hear you, if you have a scenario, because I'm putting you on the spot to think through this quickly, a scenario that happens that you thought in a moment, oh no, what's going to happen next? If you've had those moments, how did you handle that moment? How did your producer handle that moment? What was the team like? What were the dudes like? Because in the church space, you know, you're trying to mix 100 different channels of RF and goat carts and footballs flying in the air and balloons popping and cryo. We don't deal with that in the church space, but we do deal with movement on stage. We deal with the pastor walking out off his tape left and right, and if he goes too far left, he's now out of front wash,
Right.
or he's now under the speaker, and we're getting that feedback because we don't have the D feedback and all the acoustic processing stuff. So I'm curious to hear you kind of say, hey, this was a scenario that happened, and we did this to push through it to have a successful night.
Okay. So one big example was not this past weekend shows, but the week before, our video truck broke down. It was a week ago Sunday. Our Sunday shows start at 6 instead of 7. I don't know why, because there's no school, so kids don't need to go to bed early on a school night, and yet Sunday shows start at 6. Maybe so that we can get out early for if Monday's an off day, whatever. Anyway, 6 o'clock show. That means that general doors are at 5, but then there's all this VIP stuff that happens in the room beforehand. So VIP doors are at 3:45 on those days. We got a message from the driver that the video truck was scheduled to arrive at 2:30 after having broken down in the middle of the night.
So
And that's all the LED.
I was going to say,
That's all the cameras.
Yep.
It's the D3 server for all of the video content. And so we're having to go, okay, LED's not going to happen. And the show is all about LED because that's your iMag, that's your video playback, that's everything. So the plan is, okay, how do we scramble to be able to use whatever the house has for video, for LED? So the production manager is coordinating with their house guy to go, okay, what do you need signal-wise to be able to get whatever. And then it was, do you have any cameras in-house? Can we figure out how to leverage some of your PTZs or some of your, like they're a basketball arena and they do broadcast, but their cameras are not, everything is struck.
Yeah.
Because it's usually an independent company who's coming in to do the video. So it's like, what do you even have? Yeah. So it was not a great day for the production manager because he's having to scramble. And then he's in conversation with the driver to go, how far out are you, whatever. Well, they got traffic or construction or whatever. So it's like, well, now we're going to be there at 3. So then the conversation became, okay, we're just hoping that our D3 video server is going to get here in time so that we can have content.
Yeah.
Because there's no way to run some of that stuff off a laptop, like because of the way it's scaled and the way it's everything then split out for different screens. It's like, we need this thing. So I'm actually on the golf course that morning.
You should, where you should be.
Just playing golf.
No, it was earlier in the day. No, when the announcement first came across.
Gotcha.
So there's a WhatsApp group that we're all a
The
part
announcement
of.
comes across, trucks are here at 3. I'm going to the golf.
Yeah.
No.
Video sucks anyway.
No, we were already out, but I happened to be with the dudes. So I'm sitting next to Kobe and Cody, and this message comes in, and I'm like, guys, I don't know if you've heard yet, but the video truck won't be here until 2:30. Well, as the dudes, they're going, okay, what would we need to change programming-wise to be able to even have a show? Because there's a lot of video support, like for those transitions and all the things you're talking about. So it was kind of a mad scramble. But then it was like, okay, we can use the house screens. We can figure out cameras. You know, if the video truck gets here, even if doors are at 3:45, we still have 2 hours before showtime. So if we could get the truck here, we could build a few cameras. If the server's here, we can plug it in. We'll be good. But it was literally a whole process of, okay, all the what ifs, and then how do you back up from that to plan for whatever contingency? So the truck pulled into the venue at 3:15, and
you're climbing over cases.
Over. I mean, there were so many pelicans just coming into the room with all the cameras being built and all this stuff.
How was Shep doing?
Shep was a little under the gun.
I bet.
So
you have 8 minutes to be show ready.
So a lot of you know Shep from the socials and from Church World. He's our video director for this show. And brilliant move on Shep's part. He has put out every day just a call for local church camera folks to come and give him extra help, to be an op, because we were at the point in the first few shows, we had all of our LED techs were camera ops, and they still are.
You said a bus driver was a camera op.
Bus driver, truck driver 2, they were camera ops. So Shep was like, these guys have to sleep. Like we got to figure out some other plans. So
all the church guys out there complaining that they don't have a 2 ready camera ops. It's like, bro, they're using bus drivers out here.
Yeah. So guys who had never touched a camera before, and it's like, yeah, I'll do it. Tip me out. I'm good to go. Everything's for sale.
That's not too far
off. I can't tell you how many times we've had tip out people.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
That's not
so Shep. But Shep has done a great job of getting volunteers from churches to come in and help him out.
Yeah,
so,
he's like, I'll take church guys over these bus drivers.
But in that scenario, he had extra help to be able to build the camera chains and to help, just a mad scramble getting the stuff ready. So the show came off and nobody knew that anything had happened wrong.
Yeah.
And it could have been a disaster. So that's a long story to answer your question of, okay, just thinking in advance of the things that could go wrong, like what are the massive points of failure that could happen? And then do we have a contingency for each of those? Sometimes things happen. Lightning strikes and a thunderstorm and you lose power. You can't.
Or no AC, like
Or
in
no-
Knoxville.
Well, yeah, that's a thing.
Unbelievable.
It's been that way. That's why we call it Thompson boiling,
Thompson Boiling Arena, yeah.
because it's
Gosh.
freaking hot in there. Yeah, that's
So,
really cool though.
There's
yeah.
things. So in other words, just to have cool heads prevail.
Yep.
Have a plan. Know what your contingencies might be. Like in our advance, for example, production advance, our production manager is going to know what do we have in terms of house screens? What do we have in terms of house PA? If we had to punt, is there a way we could punt and not destroy the show? Because, these folks who are coming have paid a lot of money to be a part of this. Some families come and it's their family Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Like we bought the early access meet and greet thing for Christmas for our kids.
Yep.
And it's hundreds of dollars that they're spending for their kids to have the time of their lives.
Yep.
You texted me afterwards and you were like, this has made Joel's
Made
year.
his year. Yep, and one of Joel's best buddies. That's exactly it. He was there too, and it was his Christmas present.
Yeah.
Like,
So we want to make sure that we honor that and give people the best experience possible. So
Yeah.
to be prepared, because it's not just show up and react, it's anticipate and try to get ahead of some of those things so that if and when they do happen, you're ready for it.
I'm glad you shared that story because as a church production individual, so often in our world, we hear about this. We hear like, man, if I had this, if I had more staff, if I had better gear, if I had this processing, if I had this console, whatever, right? And then you hear a tour of this size, 20 plus dates, all arenas, Dude Perfect, one of the world's largest YouTube brands. I mean, Spencer looked at me during the show and goes, the power of YouTube. Like, it's unbelievable.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
Well, and the fact that they were the first, like there were no other sports related influencers and it started with them sitting out on the deck by their house at Texas A&M.
they were college roommates, weren't
with
they?
with a basketball. Tyler and Cody, he had a basketball rim behind him and he just goes, "Hey, watch this." Throws it behind him and swish.
yeah.
That started it all.
Yeah.
17 years ago. And now it's we posted a video of a clip from the show the other night that got 200 million views in 3 days.
Yeah. So
What world, like as an old guy, I'm like, what world are we
older
living
guy.
in right now?
And so
no, that makes me feel old.
Yeah. Out of all of that, you look at that and go, this tour and tours like this just must have unlimited resources, unlimited staffing, unlimited crewing, unlimited issues. They don't have any issues. They don't have this. They don't have that.
Yeah.
But the church base, we don't have any money. We have no budget. We have no staff. And then to hear you say, Shep's doing volunteer calls on Instagram and trucks aren't showing up and the talent, so the dudes are having to think through programming. Okay, so our pastors and worship teams are having to think through reprogramming. Like there's issues that come with any live event, with any production.
It's live.
With music, just talking heads, it doesn't matter. And so for you to share the story that brings that into reality for a listener to go, you're not the only one having issues. Even some of the largest tours in the world or in the United States have issues daily. And it's how you think through those issues. It's how you keep a calm head. It's how you make sure that system's in play, that right staff guy or girl is thinking through the things.
Yeah. And to have backups if you can.
Always be ahead of it.
Yeah.
Like, a success, in my opinion, a successful production company or producer, they're successful because they're thinking about 2 or 3 steps ahead of every decision. I know if this fails, I have 2 or 3 other options I can kick in and save that scenario.
That's good. Another example, and this is a smaller example, but one of the bits in the night, one of the games is go-kart soccer. So these guys are in go-karts and they're chasing around this massive soccer ball using the go-kart to hit the ball and compete against each other. It's awesome.
That was my favorite game of the night.
The most
that was
fun,
the most energetic.
It's the most fun event of the night. The problem is they're worried about controlling their go-kart.
Yeah.
They're not worried about their microphone. Well, they have a collision, pack falls off or mic falls off, go-kart runs over it, that mic cable is dead. That's happened 3 times.
Oh, that's what happened the other night because I saw somebody just like threw across the floor over the stage manager.
So mic is dead.
I love it.
And so one time it was that the cable actually snapped.
Yeah.
One time it's the connector from the mic to the pack. So we have spares of those connectors. We have a couple of spare headsets. But literally after that show, we're down to one spare. We started the show with 4 or 5 spares. Now we're down to 1. So our call that night was to Mike Rentals, called Steven, and we were like, hey, can we get 3 more DPA headsets shipped?
Promise you, you're getting them back.
Yeah, you'll get them back, but can we get 3
We might be buying them from you.
Yeah, can we get 3 more for tomorrow?
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, no problem. So again, having those resources available, because I know that if I call Steven, it's going to be done.
MikeRentals.com.
Those guys are great.
Stephen Aruda, those guys are incredible.
Yeah. So it's that kind of thing, though. It's like
Be ahead of it.
Just be ahead of it, and be forward thinking, and not. You don't want to feel like you're playing defense all the time. That's the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah. And that's a budget thing too, because churches will go, well, we don't have the budget to call Mike Reynolds and say, send me 3 mics. But you do have the budget when you sit down for a big Christmas event or your next big Easter program, and you say, okay, pastor says I have, $20,000 to work with to enhance our production. You should be setting aside at least $1,000 of don't touch this money.
Maybe 10%. Yeah.
This money is for uh-ohs and last minutes and giving the Mike Reynolds guys a call, last minute. And so
something I'm seeing too is like churches are not quick to call each other for help.
That is such a massive point.
Think about like, church in Dallas, they have a microphone. How many churches are there in Dallas?
there's like one on every road.
And they all have,
Yeah.
almost all of them, at least from what I've seen when I walk in the church, they've got spare equipment.
We could all name a dozen mega churches in Dallas by name.
Yeah.
That are multi-millions of dollars of budget.
Well,
So,
and
yeah.
2 miles from each other.
Yeah.
it's like, hey, we want to do this one special thing that, our current systems can't support, or we had failure. Okay, well, the dude, call the 3 churches down the street. Oh, you don't have their numbers because you never.
Or heaven forbid, what if we all collaborated on a special event for the community
Yeah.
and actually pooled our resources to be able to pull off something that people could never do on their own?
That's a whole,
That's a whole
that's
other
a whole other
conversation.
conversation in itself, but it's a great point.
That's a way above productions decisions right there.
But ultimately, maybe the first step is like just getting their numbers and knowing the church down the street. But ideally, that's what the church is for, right? Like we call it. I mean,
each other out.
You guys called in that moment. You called the arena, and you're like, talk to the house production manager, whoever. What do you guys have? Can we use it? Pretty no-brainer solution, but sometimes we make it so complicated in the church. Oh, we can't get that. It's 2-day shipping.
And
It's
what
like
city were you in?
I forget.
It doesn't matter. My
all
point
blurred.
is, you probably could have found a D3 server in that city.
Yeah,
You had to
probably
have
so,
one last
if we had
minute,
to have
as long
one.
as you had the content, separate, which you probably did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's one we hear often. I actually saw there was a church that was thinking about selling some equipment, and they realized, we're going to get pennies on the dollar, and we want to keep this just in case, somebody might need it in town here. And I was like,
great.
that's a really interesting. I just haven't heard somebody say that before, but I'm like,
I love
Kinda
that.
cool.
Love that.
Jeff, thanks for sharing.
Of course.
This is super fun. Thanks for
Yeah.
letting us come.
Well,
we
thank
had
you guys
we had
for
a
being
blast.
there. I had a blast having you there, and I'm so glad your kids had a great time.
They
And
loved
it really
it.
is
They've
like
been watching Do
amazing.
Perfect every day since.
Yeah.
yeah.
I can hear 7:30 in the morning. Let's go! I'm like, turn the TV down.
They do a lot of screaming. That is one thing.
Even live.
And definitely live.
especially live.
I was like, bro, these compressors are getting paid overtime
yeah.
today.
Yeah, there's not enough gain reduction on some of
Yeah.
those,
Yeah.
but it's fun.
Well, this has been great. Thanks for sharing, brother.
Of course.
If you made it this far, thanks for joining us. If you want to learn more about MXU, we'll put some information in the description below. Full training, planning, and execution platform for you to run your worship and tech ministry. Get MXU.com. We'd love to show you more. Thanks for joining us on the MXU podcast. We'll see you next time.